addressed rather than denied. So the issue at hand is that, I had said that there's an epidemic nowadays of marriages ending early, failed marriages in the early stages. Marriages, if they fail later on, that's different. A lot of times there's different factors. When the couple has been married for a long time, when they have children, those factors are, there are different set of factors that affect it. But with marriages, when they fail early on in the marriage, within the first year, 2 years, 3 years, those are on the rise, and it's been going on for quite a while. It's been going up, 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 up. So somebody, they came after her and they said that it's not an epidemic, it's a pandemic, because it's in other countries as well. It's not just here. So, what is the cause for this? Allahu A'lam. But a few things can, inshallah, be addressed, or a few things can be done that can try to mitigate this. Number one is, prior to the marriage, there has to be some thoroughness in the spouse that's selected, not just in terms of their family, not just in terms of their income, but also, in terms of compatibility between the spouses. Right? A lot of times with people who are a bit religious minded, they'll see the hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that tunkahul mar'atu bi-arba'in, that a lady is married for 4 things: for her deen, for her beauty, for her family lineage, and for her wealth. For her wealth, and then you should choose deen. So then some people, what they do is they think that deen is the answer. We just look at the person's deen, don't consider anything else. Don't consider if we're compatible, don't consider if our families are the same, don't consider if our background is the same. All of these things are relevant, right? When a person doesn't look at any of those things and just looks at deen, what happens is when you get married, a lot of times, you're never able to overcome these barriers. So you never see the goodness of the person's deen because you're at each other's throats all the time. And this is happening in people, marriages who are like religious people. Husband is religious, wife is religious, they're pious. They just don't get along. They're fighting over everything. Little things. Like when you hear some of the gripes that they have, childish, stupid types of gripes that nobody will care about. But when you have a bad taste in your mouth from someone, every little thing that they do will start to bother you. Because at the beginning, what happened is you didn't see that base level of compatibility. They said, oh, they're pious, then I'll go ahead, I'll marry them. Who knows if they get along and stuff like that. Another thing that happens is, sometimes the guy or the girl or the parents of the guy and girl, they know that their child or they know that themselves, they have issues. A lot of issues that they need to take care of. Demons, addictions, whatever it is, right? And they think if I marry a pious person, my whole life I'll also become like this and my life will be very good. But if you don't take care of your issues, what's happening? You're ruining somebody else's life in the process. We talked about in the khutbah, we talked like a few weeks ago, we talked about pornography addiction, how it's such a big problem. Now a person, people, I'm not saying a person, people, sometimes they have this issue, they think as long as I get married, this issue will magically go away. Then a few years later, the wife calls, and sometimes even the husband calls, because women have this addiction as well. That I caught my spouse watching this, we have 2 kids, we have 3 kids. They're watching these types of things. Because the root cause was never addressed. You can't think that getting married will take care of all of your problems. You'll have to take care of your problems. And then you could help somebody else as well. Then you could benefit from somebody else, but there's work that has to be done on our side. So we have to be realistic. Who are we? What are we? What are our issues? Right? Then along with that, we have to look at, be real with who you are. Not talking about issues. We're just talking about how eligible or how attractive are you to a potential spouse, right? If a person themselves doesn't have a good job and they're upset and they're saying that people, they're not, people are not looking at deen, people are not, getting their child married, what are you doing? To improve yourself? What are you doing to at least show that you have some vision or plan for yourself, right? And somebody will get your child married. Or somebody, they're not attractive, they're ugly. Like you have to also be honest. How attractive or unattractive are you? And then they're demanding that, that's like a whole throw themselves at them. That's not going to happen, right? And if they do, after 10, 15 years of you waiting for marriage, what happens then? It's like they probably have some other issues, that's why they married you, right? On the other hand, you have this issue too, and this is another, I'm just mentioning issues. You guys have to solve it, inshallah, as your kids come to this age. Okay, another issue is big disparity between boys and girls in terms of education and academic achievement and aspiration, right? Nowadays, what's happening a lot of times is that boys, and you know, I said this to youth, like we had these halaqas in the summer, they all started laughing because they're like, it's true, it's happening, right? You have like, I'm generalizing now, it's not every specific case. You have a lot of boys, what they're doing is, they go to school, they don't really work hard in school, or they're distracted, so they take like, 7 years to do a 4-year degree, and they take like a gap year before, gap year after. So they're not really, accomplishing. Now, when you're doing that, when you're taking so long in school, and then you get a degree in something like worthless, and I mean worthless like in the sense that there's no income, because they say that they'll go to med school, but then you get a degree in something like biology or psychology. What are you really going to do with that unless you go and you do graduate school, right? So now, what's happening now is it's taking them so long, so what parent will want to marry their daughter to somebody who's just compiling student debt and not having any urgency? Then on the other hand, you have girls. These girls, they're finishing 4-year degrees in 3 years. Then they're going and they're doing a master's, and they're doing all of that. Now the girl is 23, guy is 23. Girl is done with school, she's done with master's as well. And the guy is still trying to get through his bachelor's degree, and then now all of his friends are telling him, go, there's a 6-month course you could take and we'll get you an IT job, right? And then the guy, it still takes him 2 years to get to that point as well. So now what happens, the girl says, why am I going to marry someone like this? I'm not going to settle. I won't settle. So now she waits, she becomes 25, she becomes 28, she becomes 30 sometimes. She's still not married because she said, I did so much, I'm not going to settle. Why should I settle? Now the guys that actually study well and work hard at a young age, they're like, they're a high demand, right? Very high demand. So now you have guys, somebody who really worked hard, and they're 25 or 28, and now, mashallah, they got into med school, they're in residency probably at this point, right? They already got into residency. Why are they going to want to marry somebody who's 30 years old or 29 years old? They'll also go for somebody who's younger, who's more attractive. And so then you have a bunch of older girls who are unmarried, and then you have younger guys who are also not getting married because they don't have like aspiration in their life, and they're running around. And now, in this day and age, zina is very easy, very easy. Every type of sin is easy. So these are things that we have to think about. After that, when the marriages occur, why are these marriages breaking up very, very fast? Again, there's a lot of issues. Sometimes compatibility is not looked at, right? Another thing that happens is, sometimes if it's a love marriage, okay, the spouses, they like each other beforehand, and before you get married, it's not real life. So everybody's gonna show their best face. You don't really have any commitment or responsibility. You can just be nice to one another, right? Or if it's an arranged marriage, again, you're only gonna show your good side. But what's happening in, again, in this day and age, and you'll see a difference from generation to generation. Like Dr. Arafat is here. He grew up in America, right? You'll see like that generation, the parents would make the children take responsibility, do things, learn how to do things yourself, right? Now you have so many kids, the parents, boys and girls, are so focused on their education. You don't care what you do, you don't have to learn to do anything yourself. There's kids here, 20 years old, 21 years old, their mothers still do their laundry. They won't eat unless the plate is taken out and put in front of them on the table. The kid themselves has told me this. Like, my mom has been out of town for 3 weeks. I haven't eaten properly because I can't eat until she takes the food out and puts it in front of me. Sometimes when I'm busy for a test, she makes niwalas and she feeds me while I'm studying, right? Now you have, how will that child know how to live on their own, right? You have that on one side. You have girls who are also doing this. So there's no personal responsibility being taught. And the most important thing is always education and career. If you get like a B, that's a kabira sin. But in Ramadan, okay, we'll find a fatwa, you don't have to fast because you're studying for exam, right? That's how it is. Now the guy and girl, they get married. Neither one has ever been taught to really serve others. Never been taught to put themselves second and put somebody else first. To do hard work. And now when you get married, there's more work. There's cooking to do, there's cleaning to do, there's groceries to buy, there's all of this. Now who's going to do that? Both sides have been taught from a young age, your job is important, your career is important, your aspirations are important, your goals are important. So neither side cooperates. Now you have fights. Then you throw a child into that, you get more fights, right? You throw a child, one child, two child, you get more and more fights. So some of this has to start in the home beforehand from a young age. We have to instill this in our parents. The last thing, and I'll say this as well, is we have to look at things from an Islamic perspective and we have to look at things practically. The day and age that we're living in as well, right? Islamically, it's the man's job to earn. That's his responsibility, right? If a woman wants to earn and it's not affecting household responsibilities, and everybody's okay with it, she has that right. There's no problem. But it's never her responsibility to pay for the husband. Never, right? From a Shari'i perspective, a woman is never obligated to pay for anybody. Not for her children, not for her parents, not for her husband. It's her father's job until she gets married. It's her husband's job if she's married. It's her son's job, her brother's job, uncle's job. It's their job to take care of. Now what happens is, a lot of times, due to the culture, from both sides, you have girls who they begin to say that, they begin to throw a hadith at the husband, out of context. For example, say like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he used to help out in the house. Yeah, he helped out. It's not a primary responsibility. He would help out. They'll make it like you need to do everything even. Everything needs to be split evenly. This is not what Islamic rights and responsibilities are. In the West, rights means same. You can do this, therefore I should be able to do the same thing. That's what rights are in the West. That's what equality means. In Islam, equality means an exchange of rights and responsibilities. I have this right, therefore you have a corresponding responsibility. You have this right, I have a corresponding responsibility. Things are not going to be the same. There's certain things I have to do, there's certain things you have to do. But at the end, if you balance the equation out, they're going to be balanced, right? But nowadays, like the thought from women's side a lot of times, men need to do this, men need to do that, men need to, somebody told me, a woman from, one generation above me, but they grew up in America, right? A relative of mine. They said the generation that had it worse for women was like my mother's generation, meaning that all the expectations that were there from back home, India, Pakistan, Egypt, wherever, from a wife, they were there. You had to do everything, but you didn't have any family support if you're living alone, right? And they said the generation of guys that has it worse is my generation, because you still have to do like the work, right? You still have to do all of the work outside that our fathers and all were expected to do, that any man is expected to do. And now on top of that, you have girls that are expecting you to do everything at home as well, right? To be equal or sometimes even more of a contributor. So there's another issue, right? That we have to be realistic about these types of things too. What does our deen tell us? And what are the demands? On the other hand, for men as well, we have to be practical too. It's not like, 20, 30 years ago where you can't do anything, or like literally you just come home and you say, I worked all day, I'm just gonna sit here, bring my food, put it here, pick up my plate, take it away. The child is crying, I'm not gonna change it. There's certain things that you have to do as well. You have to adjust. We can't live, 50 years ago. But at the same time, there has to be a compromise. And the time that we're living in, it's all about me, 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 me. Live your truth, live your life. You only live once, and that's what everything teaches us. The media teaches us, movies teach us, political movements, social movements, they all teach us it's all about you. And our deen isn't about us, right? Our deen is about serving others, serving others. You'll never find in the Quran or Hadith in which you're instructed that this is your right, make sure you go and get it. Rather, you'll be told, this is your responsibility, make sure that you fulfill it. And this is what we have to do in our relationships with other people. Find out what our responsibilities are, fulfill that, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and beg to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has our rights fulfilled for us as well. Again, there's not a lot of solutions here, but it's something to think about inshallah, and discuss. Now you have children, especially as they're getting older, discuss these things with them. Discuss these things. The worst thing is that you spend all of this money and all this effort and energy on a wedding, and then within 2-3 months, the marriage is over, and then now everybody's embarrassed, all this money is gone, time is gone, emotional energy is invested, then one or both sides are emotionally scarred after that. I don't want that, right? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our ummah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our community, may Allah protect our children, may Allah protect our marriages. Wa akhiru da'wana.
Thank you.
Thank you.